All these rumors are fun to talk about, and Red Bull hasn't blown up yet.
Alex Albon's birthday, and his gift, Logan Sargent's car.
With the drain covers, why is this such a big issue?
That's what I'm saying. Alonso more and more is looking like Aaron Rodgers.
He's geriatric. We just kind of want him for merit mark.
You cannot win a constructor's battle when your second driver is not performing.
Grab your popcorn, folks. Things are getting crazy.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Lights Out Latest. My name is Marina. I'm here with Jason, Steven, and Tristan. And today we're going to get into that cursed Red Bull second seat. I'm going to use the word because it's been cursed for a while.
Bad juju.
Oh, yeah.
For anyone who has maybe been hiding under a rock for the last week or so, Yuki Tsunoda will be replacing Liam Lawson at Red Bull starting next week in Japan, or I guess this week in Japan. Before we get into everything surrounding this, what was your initial reaction? Were you surprised? We did talk about this last week, and I said, no way for Japan. Like, they're going to give him more time.
I mean, for me personally, this is how it should have been from the beginning. I mean, no offense to Liam, but I just think Yuki was more deserving of the seat than Liam, and I think just Liam wasn't ready, like we'll get into, like any other Red Bull second driver besides maybe Daniel Ricciardo was. But I think Yuki was most deserving. I think Liam was just, again, put in a bad spot. And, I mean, the two races he competed in, they both had, you know, their excuses. I mean, first race was real bad weather-wise, and second race he was just getting into things, so...
And it was a sprint weekend.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I just think Yuki should have had it from the beginning. I think Red Bull just messed it up again, and now we're seeing the fruits of that. So, yeah, not too surprised.
Tristan, Jason, any other thoughts besides that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the preseason, I'd kind of mentioned how I know a lot of us had wished that Yuki had that opportunity. I think, though, if we look at this, I think Red Bull's even mentioned it in their comments, is that it's not so much about a demotion/promotion for either or driver. I think they just have more faith in Yuki being more consistent in that car.
Yeah.
Because I think Red Bull, at this point, you have to be blind and dumb to not realize there's something wrong with that car.
Yeah.
So, fundamentally, going back all the way to, somebody called me out. What season of Drive to Survive was it when Toto was like, change your damn car or whatever?
Oh, it was Christian, right?
Or Christian.
No.
Yeah.
No, wait.
No, it was Toto.
It was Toto saying that.
I have it printed out. That was last year.
Chuckle complains
So-
about the
I
car.
was gonna say,
Was that season 6
That's
or
what I'm
7?
saying.
Whatever
Whatever it was. Yeah.
2024 season, 2023 season of Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think they've even mentioned that loosely somebody has, I think it was either Helmut Marko or somebody said that there will be no more changes for the year.
Helmut was asked kind of like, okay, what is the time frame here? Like, how long are you giving him?
He said till the end of the season.
And he said till the end of the season. There will
Yeah.
be no changes till the end of the season,
Which
I think is wrong.
As
but
long
that's
as
okay.
he doesn't nuke that car every week,
Well-
then yeah, maybe that will stay the same. But no, I like my main point is that I think it's not, like I said, fundamentally not a promotion or demotion. They still have a lot of faith in Lawson, I'm sure, but just a more sound.
It's just not the right car for him.
Yeah, not yet, at least. I don't think.
I don't think it's the right car for anyone.
Yeah.
See,
Well, yeah,
I
that too.
I knew this would happen. I just didn't think it would happen that
This
quickly.
fast.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe end of the season. Maybe, hopefully, it didn't need to happen. Lawson got used to it. But obviously, they've seen something because, like Steven, like you said, it's been 2 races, and one of those was kind of a rain race, and the other one was a sprint race. They've obviously seen more behind the scenes where they're like, yeah, this isn't the right decision.
Yeah.
This could be a really long time, and we have somebody performing right now. Why wait?
Yeah.
The top team is not meant for development.
Well, that's the
even though
thing,
I thought they'd
too.
Give him more time.
But no one is, like, even I don't think Yuki is developed.
No.
Yuki,
That's
if he isn't
crazy.
developed, he should get out of F1.
Yeah, I was gonna
He's
say.
been since 2021. Like,
He has
Lawson hasn't even done a
developed, like-
full season.
he is much better than he was when he came into F1 in 2021 with AlphaTauri, but
Yeah.
Sure, he has more potential, but Lawson hasn't even done a season yet, and they're going to throw him in the top team.
Yeah.
It feels like a very
Yeah.
Albon-esque situation,
Well, this-
but
this-
a lot worse.
Well, let's go back to, I want to talk about that because, like, really, I think we can all agree, and a lot of people across the F1 community do agree, the right decision would have been to put Yuki in that seat from the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah.
What bugs me is to give Liam the seat, hype him up, and hype up Red Bull all off season,
Yeah.
And then you have him 2 races, one of which was raining like a lot of the week, like a lot of the race and qualifying and all that.
Yeah.
And then the other one was a sprint race in another track he like hasn't raced in. So it's like, I just don't get it. Like fundamentally, what was the point?
Well,
like,
I think it's a combination of things.
Like
for Red
you
Bull.
kind of just screwed yourself because you just demoralized the driver you still want to perform for you because no one can take his place.
Yeah.
Who are you going to get to take his place?
Yeah.
Like,
I think, I mean, Liam did really well, I think, last year in RB.
oh yeah.
So I think
agree.
Red Bull was very high on that. And they're like, if we can get a real young guy in there who is promising, I think they really like that.
They're trying to duplicate Max Verstappen.
Yeah,
They just can't
but-
do it.
But now they see, I think right now they're in damage control. I think that they saw Liam throughout those first 2 races. They're like, we can't not win the constructors. We can't let this happen.
Yeah.
So they, panicked and they got the next best guy in, which is Yuki. So I think maybe Max said something. It was like, I know we've talked about this, that like, if this doesn't go well, Max could very well be out. And
Yeah.
so I think they thought that they need to bring a guy in as soon as possible that they think could
Yeah.
give them the best chance to get that constructors.
I think back to your point of like Red Bull kind of screwing themselves and paying damage control is like Red Bull, they're at the point now where they can't win.
Yeah.
Because Max is very, very adamant about the fact that this is not what he wants.
Yeah.
That he does not approve of this decision, that he does not like it. In the media, which is not something Max does often.
Yeah,
You know,
that
Max
means he
complains
really
about
doesn't
the
like
car,
it.
but in terms of like when the Christian Horner scandal was going on last year, he wasn't like he didn't talk about Christian. He didn't talk badly about Christian once.
Yeah.
When Checo was like really bad, he never talked bad about Checo. He was always kind of like making excuses for Checo in the media and stuff like that. And then, but on the other hand of that, like you said, there is a clause in Max's contract that's confirmed that like that can be activated kind of mid-season where it's like if you are not X amount of points from P1 or P1 like in the constructors, or within a certain range, I can leave.
Yeah.
Like Max can leave, and so I think they're kind of in that middle ground of like, okay, we can make him unhappy now, but as long as this works out for us and Yuki is who we want him to be, then we can save him from having the possibility of leaving. We can keep him in Red Bull.
Yeah.
Because let's be for real, Red Bull without Max, the end of last season and this season is a back of the pack team.
Absolutely.
Is a midfield, like even further back than I think Racing Bulls and
Red Bull and Racing
Williams.
Bulls would like swap.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason because it's not like a secret. Like that Red Bull is really hard to drive.
Yeah.
And Max is just able to do that. I mean, how many times have I brought up the Alex Albon conversation of him
that's
saying,
been a lot.
I mean, I've mentioned it so many times. I think it's very clear, and I hate that people have continued to bring up the point. It's like, oh, they're not driving the same car. They are. It's just really hard car to drive, and Max can drive it, and other people can't.
Yeah.
That's it.
It goes all the way back to like Jos Verstappen taught Max how to drive a car, any car. Jos Verstappen would purposely break things on the car and make Max drive it so that he knew how to drive in less than optimal conditions. So, I don't know. I think it goes back all the way to that.
Well, yeah, even like you said, I mean, we've talked about a bunch of different times where Red Bull knew there was a problem with the car, but Max was so good with it that they didn't feel the need to fix it. So, when Checo was there in his last few races, there were definitely times where that caught up to them.
Yeah.
And Checo couldn't drive it, and now they're dealing with the problems of that.
Yeah.
I mean, they got, lots of problems with the car, but Max can handle it, like you said, and no one else can. So they got to go back into the drawing board here and figure out how to make the car more drivable for others.
Yeah, because fundamentally, you don't have a driver problem. You have a car problem, and none of your drivers can handle your car problem except for Max.
Yeah.
And if Max does decide to jump ship, you're screwed. Like, you're fundamentally screwed. Like, you've got to address the issues that, Checo brought up and Alex brought up and Pierre brought up. Like, it's not a new thing. And even Max brought it up last year, right? Like, Max was very adamant about, like, I brought these issues. I don't know if he said it or Helmut said it. It was like, these issues were brought to the team at the beginning of last year. Max said, this car is, like, borderline undrivable. And there's these issues with the car. Nothing was done because Max was just able to control it.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing is, too, like, before, to your point, like, I think the car, like, if you were able to handle it, it was still very fast.
Yeah.
But now I think the car has gotten slower to the point where even if you do get control of it, it's still like the 4th fastest car.
Oh yeah, and even Helmut said they've reached a design ceiling with this car. There's nothing else they can't go faster.
Yeah.
All they can do is optimize what they have on any given race weekend.
Yeah. And now that you don't have Adrian Newey, I think that's going to be even more of a problem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because you don't have that knowledge to fall back on.
Yeah.
You're kind of square one
That
at this point.
enticement towards Aston Martin grows larger and larger by the day.
Yeah, I mean,
And Lance Stroll quivers.
Well,
Well,
Lance
not
has been killing it, actually.
Yeah,
he's
Lance-
actually not been too
Lance is
bad.
doing pretty
Fernando
decent.
Alonso
Season.
quivers.
Yeah.
yeah. If anything,
Rookie Fernando Alonso.
yeah, Fernando is.
It's honestly the more realistic option at this point is that he'll just retire and then potentially, who knows?
Well, we'll
But yeah,
see.
because Fernando is not interested in driving at the back of the pack. Like that's
No.
not
Get him
fundamentally
in
why he's
the
still in
Indy
F1.
500.
He is
Please.
still making
Chip,
a
make
lot
it
of money.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Penske, make it happen.
I mean,
Come
he's
on.
still making a lot of money, and he's still like, he's not getting to that age where like he's
Yeah.
done. You know.
Do you? I know we're talking about obviously this second seat here, but especially with the way things are heading for Red Bull, if things keep getting worse, is there a chance that Max just steps away for a little bit, just because he's having a
No.
kid, and then he's at a place where it's like maybe he doesn't know where to go?
You're talking about this season?
No, not this season. I mean like at the end of this season, like if things keep getting worse.
If Max leaves, he's not coming back.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
I've spoken about this a lot of times. Max isn't. He's not going to take a sabbatical.
Yeah.
Like if Max leaves, it's because he's done with F1 and he's moving on to other things.
Yeah.
What I thought was interesting was I did see a post this week that was talking about like, oh, they're getting close to renewing George Russell.
Yeah, I did see that.
That doesn't make any sense to me. I think that's blatantly false information.
You think Toto's bluffing?
Absolutely.
But why
Yeah.
would you not?
Why would you renew with George?
What? What are you talking about?
Well, first of all, George
Okay.
is a tier 1
Wait,
driver. We
what?
know Max is
I
better.
don't
You'd rather have
see-
Max than
okay,
George.
hold on.
have you
I
seen
don't see-
the Mr. Consistency post?
Yes.
Oh,
George is consistent, okay? But if you are Toto Wolff, you're not signing jack shit with George until at least mid-season.
so what? You're gonna sign Jack Doohan?
No, can you let me speak?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What I said, and I stand by what I said. If you're Toto Wolff, you're not signing anything with George until at least mid-season. Why? Mid-season is when Max can activate his contract. Toto has made no secret of the fact he still wants Max Verstappen. Toto made a mistake how many years ago to not sign Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
And he still wants that back. Signing Kimi Antonelli didn't change that. It was just his second chance, and he
You're right.
aced it. If I'm Toto Wolff, I'm not signing anything with George because I'm not going to replace Kimi. I'm going to replace George.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I thought you meant like not
No.
like, kick out George completely.
No,
you
no,
said
no.
you
No,
should wait
no,
to
no.
see what Max.
Hey,
does.
George to
That makes
Williams.
If
a lot of
Max
sense.
is adamant that he's sticking with Red Bull, or that if he is leaving, he's going somewhere like Aston and not to Mercedes, you re-sign George. That's not what I'm saying.
George
see
for
what you
Max
mean.
swap.
I'm
and come
saying
in.
that you take Max over George any day.
Yeah.
I see
Man,
what
call
you
me
mean.
crazy. I don't want to touch the Mercedes experiment. I think they actually have something solid going on right now.
Yeah,
I think
they're
they
good.
do,
Yeah.
but
They're
I
good.
think that
I mean,
Max
if you-
tops it.
Yeah. If you have the chance to sign Max,
But again,
you're
what
gonna
if he
take it.
sucks
Well,
in the
okay.
Mercedes car?
Okay, this is exactly the
Yeah,
same
but-
scenario as Ferrari last year. It's exactly the same. It's not that George is a bad driver. Carlos wasn't a bad driver.
Yep.
But if you have a chance to sign a 7-time world champion or a chance to sign a 4-time world champion, you're going to take it.
Exactly. You're right.
Yeah.
It's
True.
exactly the same thing we talked about last year. Like, no one saw it coming. This one we
Yeah.
see more coming because Toto has been so adamant about, like, I still want Max Verstappen.
And
There's even that scene in Drive to Survive where he's like, well, I told Lewis I wouldn't go after him, but I will be now.
And
You know?
I don't see him flopping if he does go to Mercedes, kind of like how Ricciardo moved to McLaren, because Ricciardo only has 8 wins in Formula 1. Verstappen has how many? And out of how many
64,
years? So same thing like Hamilton, who has over 100 wins, him moving from Mercedes to Ferrari, or McLaren to Mercedes even back then, he
Yeah.
was able to adjust to the car.
Yeah, and think
So
about,
I don't have the same fear like what happened to Ricciardo happening to Max if he moves teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at everything Max has done in the Red Bull, and we've just spent like the first, like say 5-10 minutes of this podcast discussing how hard that Red Bull is to drive.
Yeah.
Think about what he could do with a Mercedes that's well balanced.
Yeah.
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 You know?
Yep.
Like the season where he was arguably the most dominant was 2023, and Checo was struggling. That car it's like it still wasn't like the easiest ever car to drive, which is why I would like. I know I've said it on the podcast, but I don't know that. I don't remember. Maybe I haven't. I don't know. What I was gonna say is though that we've talked about before, either on the podcast or off, of like if Lando was in 2023's Red Bull, would he have like run away with it?
Yeah.
And I think the answer is no, and the reason being is because the Red Bull is the one car on the grid where it's like that car, one top team car on the grid, where it's a very difficult to get your hand on and like drive it well. Which is what makes Max so impressive, in my opinion.
I don't think, unless you're like the next Max Verstappen, I don't think that should be anyone's first car.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And Liam had a combined, 11 races?
I mean, I think all the way back to
2 seasons?
when Gasly got replaced by Albon. Albon, it was his rookie season, and he only got 12 races in the lower team.
Yeah.
Almost the same exact experience as Liam Lawson. Lawson has had 11 races over a couple seasons now.
Yeah.
And then went to top team. Albon had 12 races in a row in the Toro Rosso at the time, and then went to top team and never really caught up.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because I think there's a lot to do with like the psychology and like the mental strength of some drivers. Like we've talked about.
It's funny how they commented about his mental strength.
Yeah.
Like they said, we unanimously voted Liam Lawson because of immense mental strength.
Yeah. I think that like we've talked about like Lando's mental strength and how I like,
Lando's very self-critical in
Yeah.
public. Like I'm sure all drivers are in private, but in public he says he had a really bad day when he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather a driver be that way than try and deny it.
And it's all how they're able to handle it. Some drivers, they can't say that in media because they'll
like,
see it replayed and it'll bother them.
No, that's valid.
Well, like think about like Alex. Like Alex is decently self-critical, but he's also just like genuinely kind of like gets down on himself.
Yeah.
So like you think about like all these like negative spirals. Like every driver we've seen replaced at Red Bull has had a negative mental spiral.
Yeah.
Not just on track, but it's like you start crashing and it's like it's game over.
Yeah.
Like
well, I think it's for them. It's like they come into the Red Bull seat expecting to do okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're like, whoa, this is not what I was expecting. And then I think they start putting it on themselves when really, I think it is them to an extent, but I do also think that a lot of it falls on the car.
Well, yeah, it's like if you're driving a very difficult car, you're not expecting it to be as difficult as it is.
And then,
it's like a negative spiral of like, oh, it's really hard, and now I'm crashing, and then I'm crashing again, and then I'm crashing again, or I'm qualifying.
You start
P20.
to question yourself.
You do, and you start to question your abilities. I mean,
that's why I think it's like a career ender.
Yeah, I remember us talking about in Drive to Survive that scene where, obviously a lot of Drive to Survive is like fabricated or whatever, but talking about that scene where Max comes in, he tests the car. And they give Liam like 3 laps, and he tests the car. And I was thinking back to that this week, and I was like, what are the odds that car was previously already set up by Max? To like, that's the ideal setup window for that car at that track. Max came in, drove the 3 laps, and then whatever. And then Liam came in driving a perfectly set up car for 3 laps and almost matched Max. Great.
Yeah.
What are you going to do when you arrive to a weekend where you didn't get the setup right, which has happened over and over and over again
with the biggest difference
with Max.
I've heard with Ali Behrman, even though he's recovered really quickly, especially in his first weekend, is like the 2 situations he stepped into last year where teammates were, 1, understanding and willing to help out to get him on the right track, and 2, there's low pressure because he's going to have 2 drivers subbing in for 1 weekend.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to perform, but he probably had all the help and good graces from the team. Now it's time to perform, so that makes it harder, and you won't get that same level of feedback from
absolutely,
especially Esteban Ocon. But even Behrman's handled it really well.
Yeah. And I think, it's so easy to like see just the result on paper and be like, oh, he sucks, you know? But like fundamentally, we've seen a lot from Liam. Like, I don't think Liam's a bad driver.
No.
We've seen a lot from Danny Rick. Like, I still credit Danny Rick for being a great driver, even if fundamentally, like, his biggest career mistake was to leave Red Bull. I mean, he left on his own terms. And I think we'll never 100% know, like, oh, this is why he left. But for sure, the rumor circulated is like he was scared. Like he was scared of like a Max-centered team where he's kind of like on the back burner and trying to kind of compete with this young guy that's really good.
Yeah.
And you leave, and then you go to Renault, and then you go to McLaren, and then you come back to the Red Bull family, and you're kind of like in the dumps, like really had a hard time of it. And you're coming with like this negative mental health, let's say, to a team which is like Red Bull. You have to be like the strongest mentally of any team on the grid.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is fundamentally such a hard team to be a part of. Like from a mental standpoint, not just because it's a hard car to drive, but there's always someone waiting, especially the last couple of years. Now
really
that's
have
like,
that.
now there's like, they're kind of stuck. Like, okay, who are you going to bring in? I mean, I saw rumors. I don't know if this is confirmed because again, we've been off. And so there hasn't been a lot of driver media, but a lot of rumors that Alex was asked to come back to the team over the winter break.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, that it wasn't supposed to be their ideal
out of
situation was Alex. It was Max and Alex, and then Liam and Yuki.
Yeah, I mean, Alex has looked very good this season.
He was the original Gasly replacement.
Was it not Alex?
Well,
I thought so.
You mean the Gasly replacement at AlphaTauri or at Red Bull?
no, at Red Bull because then Gasly
Alex.
didn't pan out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I
they
just
just
think back
swapped
to,
them.
like,
Pierre
why-
Gasly and Alex Albon came in together, did they not?
No, Gasly was before.
Gasly was at Toro Rosso, and then he got moved up. No, but like they came fundamentally, they started at new teams at the same time.
Yes.
Like he got moved up from the Toro Rosso team to the Red Bull seat at the same time as Alex was being moved into the Toro Rosso seat from Formula 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
They came in 2019, and then he got half a season. Pierre Gasly got half a season at Red Bull, and Alex got half a season at
It was
Toro
funny
Rosso, and
before
they
that
swapped them mid-season.
Gasly also was a mid-season ad, because Brendan Hartley got kicked out.
Yeah.
Was that it, or was Sainz?
At Toro Rosso?
Yeah,
Was-
because Sainz left Toro Rosso, and then I think Gasly was a mid-season ad, right?
Okay, wait, who was the crew in 2015? That was Carlos and Max at the Toro Rosso.
Yep. And then Kvyat
Kvyat
and
and Ricardo.
Pierre replaced the Daniel.
Yes.
Kvyat.
Yeah.
Wait, Kvyat
Yeah.
at Toro Rosso.
Yeah, that was at
that was the mid-season.
Malaysian Grand Prix.
Yeah, so that was the mid-season ad.
That was
Okay.
2017.
Yeah.
And Hartley, when did Hartley come in?
Hartley replaced Carlos, did he not?
Yeah, because Carlos
Because
replaced
Carlos went to
Palmer at Renault. And Palmer
Renault,
got promoted to the commentary booth. Okay.
I love how you put that
Moved to
pro
the
into
commentary
it.
booth.
And Kvyat got promoted to Formula E.
Yes. Yes, he did.
I love the Kvyat story. The more I look into it, I think it's really, really funny because
Keto.
have you seen his comments
I
on
thought it
his
was a
Formula 1
joke.
exit?
Oh,
No.
oh. I was
On
I
his
think it's
F1
something
exit,
else.
the Ferrari stuff. Is that where you thought you were going to talk? That's what I'm going to talk about.
No, I thought I saw a joke where Kvyat was like, advice for Liam Lawson. He's like, spend a lot of time with your girlfriend.
I did see that. That was definitely a joke. But what I think is really funny is apparently he was offered Ferrari.
Really?
That's
I've-
his claim. He claims he was
a
offered
reserve
Ferrari.
driver in 2018
Yeah.
for Ferrari.
So he claims he was offered
Right?
the Ferrari
he?
seat.
Was that before Charles, I
Daniel
guess?
Kvyat
Yes,
reserve
before
driver.
Charles. He was offered it, and he said no because he was going to get promoted to Red Bull. The very next season, he gets demoted and then replaced, and then Max takes his girlfriend and his child. Like the very
incredible.
next season. Like it's actually
least-
really funny.
At
Like
least he escaped Russia because he's not in with the government there. He's
Yeah.
like independent.
Yeah.
He's not like a Mazepin oligarch of Russia.
yeah.
Mazepin hasn't announced his...
So he's in.
Nope.
He's in
Really?
Italy right now. I think Kvyat.
Yeah.
What nationality is
probably.
Kvyat? Is he Russian?
He
Russian.
is Russian.
He's
Russian.
Yes, but I think he
But
lives
he
in
was
Italy.
he was one of those people that that originally signed, did he not? Did he sign or did he not sign when the FIA had like it wasn't like a petition, but it was like a thing like you had to sign this paper if you're a Russian driver to continue competing in FIA sports. It's part of the reason that Mazepin left was because
Yeah, he is definitely not supportive.
did
of Russia.
Kvyat sign that? Because I remember him sitting out for a while.
Well, Mazepin's
I remember
definitely
that.
supportive of Russia, right? Because his dad.
Oh, yeah.
he
No,
has
absolutely.
to, unless he gets cut off.
He'll lose his inheritance.
Yeah. All right, time to start working back home, buddy. You're no longer a race car
Working.
driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like Latifi or De Vries.
I feel like that's like
but
the
De
same
Vries is
guy.
still racing, right?
Yes.
Okay, Latifi is the one that went to
Latifi's
Harvard
business.
School.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
studying business.
And
Good for
then
him.
Logan Sargent is in
At
real
least he has a
estate.
career, right?
What? Who?
Latifi, at least he has a career now.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
Yeah.
a
You could look
lifetime
at-
supply of Red Bull.
Yep.
Oh, wait, I got that wrong. Logan Sargent's brother is in real estate, but he used to race NASCAR.
And his uncle
Oh,
is a
interesting.
That's right.
defense contractor.
Latifi?
No, Sergeant.
Oh, really?
I think so. I
Interesting.
think that's where the family money comes from.
Interesting.
Ah.
I didn't know that.
Interesting.
I think fundamentally what all of it comes back down to is ever since Danny Rick, but even then, like, really, there hasn't been a good driver besides Max Verstappen and Danny Ricciardo since
No.
Carlos Sainz left Toro Rosso in 2016.
Hmm.
2016, 17?
Yeah, since then,
16.
no. I mean, the
Like,
very
all
best
of the
season
replacements
was
were
21.
terrible.
21 was the very best season. Perez won races on the podium.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
even
Yuki-
22
well,
started great.
That was,
Perez won a race in 22,
well,
right?
21
Yeah,
was,
Perez
yeah, he
won
did.
Monaco. Perez was finishing P2. Heck,
Yeah.
even the start to 23, he finished
23,
P2 a couple
he
times.
finished 1-2 with Max in Bahrain and in Jeddah.
Yeah, like Perez was the closest we got to a good driver, and the fall off has been
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
generational.
But it's like, as the car, because again, I think that all of us, this is gonna be a crazy. This is gonna be crazy. You're gonna be like Marino. Like, what happened to you? Like, who are you?
Uh-oh.
All of us fundamentally deserve or should owe an apology to Checo. Because I think
The man was being abused.
yeah, I think it's fairly clear. Again, you're only as good as in F1. You're only as good as your last race.
It was time for him to go.
It
That's
was time.
all I need to say.
It was absolutely time for him to go.
Yeah.
But I think that fundamentally Red Bull, he got worse when the Red Bull got worse.
Right.
Yeah.
And Max was still able to handle it, but he wasn't. And
Yeah.
it's still going on. Like, you haven't found anyone that's better. You know, like, fundamentally we, like,
You need
kind of
Yas.
destroyed
Yeah.
him, but
You need Yas. You need another Verstappen in the car.
There you
I
go.
don't know what else is gonna fix it.
that is my favorite Christian Horner comment of all time. Is when Toto is talking about taking Max, and Christian goes, "If he wants a Verstappen in the car for next year, I hear Yos is available."
I do remember that.
Fundamentally,
Yup.
my favorite thing Christian Horner has ever
They
said.
freaking hate each other.
They do. Christian and Yos are like
Which I don't blame Christian. Y'all sucks.
Yeah.
fundamentally like
To be fair,
the way.
Christian also
Yas the
sucks.
boss.
They're
Hey, at
both
least
bad.
Yas made it to F1. Christian never did. He got up to like Formula 2 and
Oh my
saw he
God.
wasn't fast enough.
They're both bad. They're both
Yeah.
very bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
But does Yas have a podium? I think he has a podium.
I don't think so.
Maybe.
I mean, he got demolished by Schumacher at Benetton.
Yeah, but at least he
He
has
has 2 podiums.
Totally.
Oh.
Damn.
where and where.
Chief 2.
I think both at Benetton. Let's
No,
have a
but
look.
like where? Like what race?
it was in 1994 both. Hold on.
Yeah, so both are at Benetton during Schumacher's first title year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Let's see here.
At Hungary and Belgium back to back.
Damn.
Both
Interesting.
of them
More
were
you
third
know.
place though. So
Yeah. Well,
go.
he historically did he not finish less races than he, like less than 50% of the races he started?
I feel like I remember seeing that stat.
Oh yes, 100%. Look at his wiki. Hey,
Crash
are you on
Zappin
the
is real.
Wikipedia?
Yes.
Tristan. So scroll down to racing record. Look at the number of purple boxes that are retirements.
Oh,
That's
Like
so
the
many.
whole
Oh my God, he sucked.
Yeah.
He was
Oh my
bad.
God. What team would sign this freaking idiot? Oh my
Look
God.
at his resume. Simtech, footwork, Tyrrell.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but the
Arrows.
freaking like you'd think Arrows in
Minardi.
2000 at least wouldn't. Oh yes, like this man has more retirements than like
that looks like a periodic table of
makes
elements.
Danica Patrick look good. This
That's
is
what that looks
crazy.
Horrible.
Dude, that is such a pull. Makes Danica Patrick look good is
yeah.
crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think he has more retirements in that Benetton season. We had 2 podiums and actual race finishes.
Literally.
Yeah, he did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 retirements.
And then the 2
he only
podiums
raced
back to back.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 6 retirements and 10 races.
How?
6 retirements, 2 podiums, and where he finished for the other 2 races.
Now, to be fair, yes. 5th
bet
and
he
8th. 5th and 8th. So
Yeah.
still good.
So still in the points, I guess.
But
Is that points for 94?
Only the 5th place.
The
The
5th
8th was
place,
not
yeah.
only top 6. But to be fair, the cars are less reliable back then. But still,
How one of the drivers that should be on the Mount Rushmore of Formula One came from this man.
yeah.
Hey,
It's
man.
crazy.
I think it's the epitome of like hindsight's 2020. You learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
He made it all the way there, but he was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So he made sure that if his son was going to make it all the way there, he wasn't going to.
I mean,
Exactly.
thing is too, I'll say some of the best coaches were like the worst players.
Yeah, it's true.
in sports.
True. Very
Like
true.
Jose Mourinho, he was horrible. Never made it to the
Yeah.
top division.
Yeah. And like
Pep Guardiola was good though, so that was weird.
no, yeah, but like also I think that it doesn't hurt that Yus made it there and had so many friends in high places.
Especially
Yeah.
Schumacher.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he also had friends in low places, aka the retirement grid.
the retirement grid is crazy.
I was gonna say P20. I was like, nah, he didn't even finish the race.
Well.
Trying to think.
But yeah, when
another,
you're trying to like,
example.
I mean, Max went straight from karts to F3.
Well,
Yeah.
Tristan, you have plenty of examples in F1 of great coaches or bad drivers.
Or
Zach
good
Brown.
drivers.
That's
Zach Brown was a driver for a bit. He was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Now he's a great team boss. Christian
Christian
Horner.
Horner.
He
Is,
made it to Formula 2. Fair
Toto.
enough,
Does Bruce McLaren
Toto
count
Wolff,
or no?
but he didn't really have a career.
Because
Bruce McLaren
Bruce
was a
McLaren was an
decent
okay driver. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Ferrari, if we're going for that
Helmut
far back.
Marko,
Ugh.
he's an example.
There you
Bernie
go.
Ecclestone. I don't know if you want to count him, but he was a driver.
Yeah.
Well, what
Or
he drove
attempted.
2 races? Or what was it?
Attempted.
I forget what he
He
tried.
attempted.
Bernie.
Yeah.
And he didn't qualify for one. You also had who else was a
Who
driver?
else on the grid?
There's definitely a couple others.
This just made me think. I was trying to think of like. I don't know.
I don't know. That's all I got.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank now. But like,
Because like Fred never
There's-
drove, right?
No,
Vasseur? No.
I mean,
there's
Flavio?
something else. I think that
No.
like
No.
Max is just special. Like
Flavio
Max is
worked
born.
for Benetton, the clothing
Max is
company.
born of a breed. Like he was destined to be a racer.
Yeah.
Just like I think his kid, like girl or boy, even Penelope, like
P.
one of those two have
Penelope's
to.
gotta be the next.
One
Red
of
Bull
those
driver.
two, like assuming he's having a girl, which is the most accurate rumors I've seen.
That's what you've heard?
Yes, one of
Okay.
the 2 girls I think will at some point race at least like F1 Academy. And I don't want it to be like a pressure thing. I remember, but like I think that there will be like I genuinely when you're born from that many racers, the idea of them not wanting anything to do with racing would kind of shock me.
There is pressure. I would like
Yeah.
to compare it to Dale Jr. right now. He has 2 daughters, and they, because they're surrounded by it, they have interest in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, like, he still works in motorsports. They're
Well-
old enough where he still races occasionally. They go to
Yeah.
a racetrack, stuff like that. Now, if Max was to quit cold turkey and then just, like, stop racing, I think the girls, if he has a kid, whatever, would have less interest. And
Yeah.
therefore, less
agree.
pressure.
I think
Yeah.
less interest and less pressure if he quits, but I think like even if he leaves F1,
It'll never happen.
he will be racing something else and he's still
Exactly,
super
that's what I mean.
interested in
It'll never
Sims and stuff.
happen that way.
I think there's
Yeah.
also like I mean just think about like the family in general. Like his Piqué Zinho still races sometimes. Nelson Piqué. So like that whole heritage, like that whole family, like
Yeah.
crazy racers. And then you also have Max and Jos and all of not just like biological family, but like all of the connections that has, and then again your exposure, right? Like if she grows up on a racetrack, some part of you will always either love it or hate it. Like
Yeah.
either you completely dread it, like I hate this,
Yeah.
or you're like me and you go to a race for the first time in 2019 and now you don't shut up about Formula One. So
Yeah.
I didn't realize Max's mom actually raced. A
Yeah,
little bit.
his mom.
V8 supercars.
She raced. She was a karting champion. She beat
Yeah.
Christian.
That's funny.
Every time I think of Max's mom, and karting, I think of like she raced against Christian. I think she also raced against Martin Brundle
Didn't
potentially, and some other
Toto's
people.
wife race
Really?
too?
Yeah,
But Martin
Susie
made it
will
to
figure
Formula
it
1.
out.
Is pretty.
but do
good.
you know
He
that?
has a few podiums.
Do you love? I love that grid comment. Where Christian goes, "Shame you're too old to have driven here," and Martin goes, "Shame you weren't fast enough to get to Formula 1."
Oh yes,
Or
yeah,
good
yeah,
enough
yeah.
to get to Formula 1.
Martin Brundle is the best.
Martin Brundle is great.
Martin was actually a good driver too.
He was a good driver. He was there for
He was
a while too.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
he had a
And-
long career.
And
Yeah.
he raced with only one foot because he started in an era when they still had a clutch pedal on the floor.
Yeah.
And he crashed, totally injured his foot. I think it was his left foot, like lost feeling in it.
Yeah.
And then they went to 2 pedals and the flappy paddles.
Mm.
But what really helped him is since he was already used to working the gas and the brake with it 1 foot, he raced 1 foot.
Yeah.
He claims he could have been a lot faster if he had both feet, but
Yeah.
he only had to use his right foot on both the gas and the brake.
This
That's
is
fair.
this is
Flappy
only some
paddle
shit
era.
that Jason would know. Like
Yeah.
that's so cool.
And he still got 10 podiums. And he still
Yeah.
was a
Pretty good.
heck
Yeah.
of a driver,
Good.
a Schumacher's
I mean,
teammate. After
Not
Joss.
to
After
not to
Joss.
compare Martin to Checo,
Oh.
but I do want to get back to something because there's something I want to mention before we kind of like wrap for today.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of rumors of Checo with Cadillac.
There is.
I'm not surprised.
Do you think
Wouldn't
this
be
ups his
surprised.
stock?
It could have, honestly.
Potentially.
Does this
Yeah.
up his
I think it
stock
does,
in that
definitely.
like we are now officially talking about Liam Lawson's not a shit driver?
Well, now
it's
the
just that
conversation
car
has
is horrible.
changed. Yeah, the conversation has
Yeah.
completely changed. Is we
Especially
respect
if it
Liam.
continues with Yuki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that Liam isn't respected for is his comments before the season. I'm not here to make friends. I mean, like that's the only thing
Liam
that's like.
fundamentally made the same comments as Max, and then he also like one of my favorite comments that Liam made preseason was, "I'm not here to beat Max. I'm here to learn from him,"
Yeah.
which I respect and I love. But then he like really shot himself in the foot.
Well, the
with that
problem
one.
with like Liam is that his personality, he tried to be more like Max, but he's just not Max in the sense of like I know Liam as like I love Lightning McQueen, ka-chow. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's
Liam was like, if you look at his onboards from China, his overtakes are just as aggressive as Max.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it looks
Yeah,
like it's
yeah,
Max
yeah,
in the
yeah.
car. Like,
Yeah.
but if you can't qualify well, then you're stuck making those overtakes on P14. It's not worth
Hey,
anything.
great for
Yeah.
fans.
And then even worse for you is if you're going to be aggressive like Max, you better be aggressive fighting for a win, not aggressive fighting for the back of the pack. Because if you're qualifying P20 and then making these ultra aggressive overtakes for P14 and crashing the car, then you're really screwed.
Yeah.
Because then it was like there was no need for that,
Yeah.
you know? So, anyways.
There's
Yeah.
big risk management there.
absolutely.
All right. Before we move, I guess it's kind of a prediction, but before we move into, predictions for podium for Japan, I would like to know, what is your minimum expectation of Yuki for this weekend?
Like,
Points.
Points?
yeah, I'd say points.
That's it.
Yeah.
Is that's your minimum expectation?
Well, no, minimum would be not wreck the car, but
Yeah.
like legitimately,
Yeah.
just don't wreck and don't.
Get
That's
past-
actually it. That's actually I'm gonna keep it at that.
Don't wreck.
Finish the
Q3.
race,
Yeah.
and then hopefully don't come in last.
I was gonna
And
say,
that's it.
yeah, get out of Q1.
Or
Yeah.
be within a 1 second of Max.
yeah.
Like that on like during qualifying.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, if he's 8/10 behind, that's a little bit devastating. But if he could be like half a second or less
Yeah.
away from Max over
Yeah.
1 lap,
Okay.
that's kind of what I hope for.
Okay, so here's the reason I asked that question is because Yuki qualified, what was it, 4th on the grid, 6th on the grid, something like that, in China, in a Racing Bulls.
Yeah.
If he now comes out and is either out in Q1 or out in Q2, if he does not make Q3 in a Red Bull,
It's like he has the lowest pressure of anybody.
I
that's
don't
been in that
know.
seat since Ricardo.
I don't know how I would feel about it because you should be quicker than you were in a sister team. Even with a car that's difficult to drive, you're being promoted after
Yeah.
2 races at your home race in a white livery, which needs to be studied because it doesn't.
Well, they want him to feel like it's the same car. You know, it's a placebo effect.
Yeah.
He's staying from a
Yeah.
white Red
That's a
Bull car. He's
placebo
But
going
that's-
into
okay.
another white Red Bull car.
That's my thing. Is
He's
like
gonna forget.
Liam
He's gonna
had a
pull
lot of
into the wrong
pressure.
garage now. Like, it's
Liam
gonna
had a
be
lot of
bad.
pressure, and Liam was replaced because fundamentally, even in a Racing Bulls, Yuki was outperforming him by a lot.
Yeah.
So now, if you turn it around and Yuki Tsunoda is outqualified by Liam Lawson in a Racing Bulls, then where are you at?
Well, in
I
all
don't see that
honesty,
happening.
I feel like that tells you more about Racing Bull's car than it does about Yuki.
Yes,
It's true.
that would seal the deal. That's the team
Okay.
and not the driver.
Yeah.
But my
if Yuki
point,
does beat Lawson easily
Yeah.
and gets close to Max, then it's easily said, all right, Yuki's the driver.
okay,
we
but
should
my
have.
point is, I don't agree with the fact that after 2 races you swap, and now you're going to give
Yeah.
Yuki to the end of the year.
Should have never
Yeah.
been there in the
If
first
you
place.
swap, even if you shouldn't have been there in the first place, if you swap, and now Liam is out qualifying Yuki because fundamentally the Racing Bulls is easier to drive and he's still a good driver,
Yeah.
then where are you at? Because it's like I lost my seat to him, but he's not doing any better than I did. You
Yeah,
know what
don't
I'm saying?
change.
I mean,
You
Lisa,
understand, like, where I'm
if I were
coming from?
Liam,
Like-
I'd be like,
You
yeah,
don't
I mean, it was
Maybe
justified.
switch them every week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Average it out so they both get the maximum amount of points. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
We could get to a place where it was just a one-car team.
I
wouldn't,
wish-
I wouldn't
Run
put it past
three
you.
Fundamentally-
Racing Bulls. That
fundamentally
solves
what
everything.
ideally what I wish had happened is however many I don't know how many races do we have till the summer break?
I had no clue.
How many races before the summer break versus after? Let's say, okay, for easy math, let's say there's 12 races before the summer break.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see Liam 6, Yuki 6, and then whoever did better fundamentally, not in terms of like positions per se, but like whoever was fundamentally faster in the car, closer to Max, over the course of those 6 and 6 races, keeps the drive for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My thing is though, like, I mean, I'm curious to know actually, who do you think gives Red Bull the best chance to keep Max?
Yuki.
Yeah, that's what Red Bull's thinking is at the end of the day. I think.
Right, but I think it's just so stupid.
It is,
Max
but I
doesn't
mean,
care
if
about
that's
the
your
teammate.
thought. What?
If he wants to win himself, I don't know if he really cares as
No,
much
no,
as
no,
the
no.
teammate.
That's not what he's saying. Steven is saying, points wise, they need to rack up those constructors so Max can't leave.
yeah.
That's what he's
No,
talking about.
I don't think Max cares about the team championship.
No, but that's no.
It's about this contract.
It's about his
clause.
contract.
Oh.
So if Max, if constructors wise, they're behind a certain benchmark. I don't remember exactly what the benchmark is, but if they're behind a certain benchmark by the mid-season break, by summer break, then Max can exercise his exit clause and leave with no penalty. Like it's not like, oh, I have to pay out of my contract. Like he could just leave. Like he's
Yeah.
gone, and he can go sign another contract. So I think what Steven's point is which driver is going to get them closer to remaining within the bounds of that contract so Max can't leave, so they can
Yeah.
keep Max. Because fundamentally, even if Max doesn't approve of this decision now, if it still benefits the team in the constructors, Max will be okay.
I
Yeah.
think I
They
think,
would rather make him mad now than have him
yeah.
leave.
Yep.
It would be like the biggest flop of all time if Red Bull loses Max because of this. I think.
But it wouldn't. It's not like. I wouldn't go as far as to say like, oh, Max leaving Red Bull 2025 is not in my bingo card. Like
I
it
wouldn't
is.
say that either.
Like,
But I'm just saying it would be a huge disappointment if Red Bull lost
Absolutely.
Max because of this.
Yeah.
But again, I think it goes back to like there are certain drivers that you like would have never seen leaving.
Yeah.
Before 2 years ago, would have never saw Max leaving Red Bull. But
Yeah.
fundamentally, he's not loyal to Red Bull. He said it time and time again. I'm here to win.
Yeah.
And if Red Bull's not going to give him the best chance of winning, he's going to leave.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know because he's
Within
wearing a
reason.
Red Bull shirt like at the baby shower or whatever. So that sounds pretty loyal to me. Maybe he just doesn't have any other clothes. He hasn't need
It's
to buy
possible.
clothes.
Essentially
It's also
true.
funny because they have the Pepe jeans sponsor. So now
And he's
people are
wearing
joking
jeans.
because he's always wearing jeans and the Red Bull tee. So he really is wearing like full team merch.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
smart man. Why pay their clothes when it's given to you?
Yeah.
Literally.
Cost
I
savings.
think it's funny though because Callie is a fashion model, so she's like she's never wearing the same clothes twice, and Max wears the same thing every single day.
Maybe that's a masterful move. Like all these drivers getting dressed up and wasting all their brain power on what they're gonna
Oh
wear.
my
And Max
gosh.
doesn't. So
That's
Keeping
a
the-
conspiracy
keeping it in
right
reserve.
there.
I mean, ever since Lewis started showing up to paddock all gutsied up, like he hasn't been winning. Like
I
that
love
could be
this.
why.
I love this conspiracy theory.
No,
Anyways.
seriously, he used to wear the team uniform every week, and then he started showing up all fancy, and he started losing.
All right. Predictions for the Japanese Grand Prix.
If Lewis shows up in full Ferrari uniform, he's winning. No,
Which he will not.
Yeah, so probably not great.
All right. On a serious
note, the McLarens are really hard to beat.
Yes.
Yep.
I really don't want to say another McLaren win, but it's looking really likely. Why not let Norris win the race?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We could have. This feels like too easy to predict.
Then go for it.
Max P2, and then like a Hamilton P3.
Okay.
Interesting.
You know, I think the dress up game he's playing is costing him like 3/10. So I think 3/10 is good enough for P3.
I love this. This is so funny. Okay.
I don't see Ferrari on the podium in
Interesting.
Japan. I see. Well, the first one, the gut reaction to me was McLaren winning it, but I don't see it being Lando. I do see Oscar taking the
Same.
victory.
Y'all are gonna think I'm crazy for my poll, but that's okay.
Okay. Oscar P1. Let's go George P2. And then P3. That's an interesting one. I think I'll have Max P3. I don't see Max missing the podium this weekend.
Okay. So no Lando on the
No
podium.
Lando. I see Lando P4, to be
Okay,
fair.
okay.
But like,
Steven?
yeah.
This is about to be a crazy take, y'all. Grab your seatbelts for this one.
Okay.
Mm.
All right, so it starts off pretty normal. I say McLaren 1-2. I say Lando 1, Oscar 2.
Okay.
But here's where things get interesting. This is just a pure feeling. I don't really have any thought behind this.
Okay.
Yuki P3.
Let's go.
Wow, that's crazy.
Okay.
Let it happen.
That's not where I thought you were going,
Let it
but
happen.
mine is also pure
I
feeling.
knew you were doing that.
I have like a gut feeling right now. Oscar, Max,
Okay.
Kimmy.
Ooh.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
I,
All right.
I can see that.
Interesting.
I can
I
see
will
that.
call out George, but okay.
What did he say?
You don't even.
I would have said George
Why? I have George fourth or
because
fifth.
he knows how.
It's going to depend on if I see Lando Norris
Alright.
actually finishing this race.
All right. We'll see. We'll see.
Oops. Did I say that out loud?
Oopsies.
Anyways,
Oh my gosh.
any final thoughts on Yuki, on Liam?
Red Bull about to become a one-car team.
About to
right.
become. Red Bull has been.
No, but I mean like legitimately though.
What are
Like they're
the
not
ru-
going to field a second
what are
car.
the
It's going to
rules
become a
behind that? Can
one-car
Red Bull
team.
just not field a second car? Or do they have to field a second car?
Yeah, well,
you have to.
that's
Well,
a
you
good
could
question.
retire every race.
Yeah, you could
Can
start
you-
in.
Stick
That would be
Christian in the car
crazy.
Can
and
you-
have him do one lap and
Can
retire
you
every
put-
race.
All of your development money to one car?
Yeah.
No, I mean they're identical to each other basically.
No,
But
but
do
like,
they
if
have
you
to
don't
be?
have to produce parts for a second car.
I mean, what if Max
you do
just
a
goes
start-
between the car 1 and
You
car
could.
2?
If you do the
Conspiracy
start and
theory.
park
You
like
could.
theory, I guess.
You
You
could
could do
bring.
that.
You don't even have to bring. As long as it's this regs, you could
You
literally
could
bring your
yeah.
2022
one set
car.
of upgrades.
Interesting.
Yeah,
One set of upgrades. Yeah.
fundamentally.
They don't need to be the same. each
Man,
Huge
I'm
cost
sorry.
saver,
I'm
man.
sorry. I gotta point this out. I want to have a counter for how many times you've said fundamentally in the last 20 minutes.
Me?
Yeah. I'm saying over 10 at this point.
Yeah. I wasn't paying attention. I couldn't hear.
Why did I want to like my instinctively? I was going to say, well, fundamentally. Anyways, no, I want to end with like, this is not, as long as Yuki doesn't destroy it, like, and by that I mean, as long as he's not like finishing 1-2 with Max for the rest of the season, this is not the end of the road for Liam Lawson. This is not career ending. However, on the other hand of this, because I think this is something we didn't talk about earlier, if Yuki is terrible, if Yuki does no better than Liam, this is career ending for Yuki Tsunoda. This is bye-bye the Red Bull family for Yuki Tsunoda.
I don't think so because so
Absolutely.
many other drivers suffer in that car.
Okay, but it's not career ending as in like gone for F1. This is bye-bye Red Bull. There's nothing left for them. They keep Liam and Isaac,
Yeah.
I see.
and they get rid of Yuki. Yuki's
Specifically
gone.
for Red Bull,
Red
not
Bull.
for F1.
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
F1 wise, everybody recognizes Yuki is great,
Yeah,
but Red Bull realized he doesn't work in their car.
he doesn't work
Right.
for what we need him.
I get what you mean.
We're gone.
That
We're
makes
done.
sense.
You know, like if Liam can still perform, which I'm thinking he will, in a Racing Bulls alongside a very young Isaac Hadjaw, there's no place for him.
No.
He's done. Like he's done.
I
It's
can see
over.
that. I agree with that.
He was already going. I mean, there's a lot of talks already preseason. You know, fundamentally, there's your counter. He's a Honda driver, not a Red Bull driver, and so like if this is
So he's going to Aston Martin.
yeah,
to
if he
replace
doesn't
Alonso.
perform, he's gone. So
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Join F3 champ.
anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you even made it this far,
Better of.
this is
Yeah.
a
Or
really
else.
good. This is a really good one. A lot of
Maybe the
opinions,
best.
but also a lot of like deep. I feel like we kind of deep dived, thinking about things that maybe don't surface on social media, specifically for this trade. Kind of going back to Kvyat and all that stuff in the history of the seat and why it may or may not be cursed. Which I'd love to know how many people actually think like this is like a curse.
Well, you see,
Like,
what we
it's
need
not-
is I know, as a Brazilian yourself, you probably know your country's very superstitious.
Mm-hmm.
We need like a Brazilian like exorcism on the Red Bull section. Like we need to summon Bruno Senna
I would have thought the
to
result
get Ayrton's
of,
ghost to like embody the car and like cleanse it or something. I don't know.
Ayrton's ghost is crazy.
I would have
Yeah.
thought the result of last year's Grand Prix shows that Red Bull has favor in Brazil.
In Brazil,
But
yeah.
no.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
see, that's what I'm saying. We need the exorcism to happen.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned on our Instagram and TikTok at Lights Out Latest. And next Monday at 11:30 Eastern Time, we'll be back with your post-Japan recap. Bye, guys.